Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Joshua, and today we're going to be talking about one Rafael Edward Cruz, or as some of you may know him, the sweaty turd of a senator from the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz. He's a three-term senator and has already made a name for himself as being a giant scumbag, misogynist, and a Trump-whipping boy who's really made no qualms about being in the pockets of some of the wealthiest businessmen in the country. So today we're going to go over, well, just how much Ted Cruz sucks. So the first reason why Ted Cruz sucks, how about Ted leaning into his name change so as to downplay his Cuban ancestry in Texas to help win elections, and then go on to mock his 2018 Senate race opponent Beto O'Rourke for choosing to go by a nickname he's had since he was a child instead of his real first name, which is Robert, so as to dog whistle Latino voters that he ain't one of y'all in what some historians have called a total bitch move. Cruz said in his 2015 autobiography, A Time for Truth, which, for fuck's sake, even the title of his life story is fucking bland, that he changed his name in middle school because kids were already calling him Felito, which was bothering him because it sounded like the names of brands of chips that were being sold at the time. And Felito, by all of my half-assed Googling, seems to be just a Spanish variant of the name Felix. And if that's true, that just shows you how big of a fucking baby he is. Do you know what I was called when I was a kid? I was called things like and that was just by my parents and siblings. But if anyone knows of a different meaning of Felito, like maybe it's Cuban slang that I just couldn't find any information on the internet, leave in the comment section below. Now let's just say that the story is 100% true. You cannot tell me that he didn't fully lean into being Ted and not Rafael when thinking about campaigning in certain parts of Texas. And while working on the George W. Bush campaign in 2000, seeing firsthand the voting power of the conservative right and realizing that those folks ain't too fond of funny sounding names like Jose and Rafael. I mean, shit, he's already got a Z in his last name, and that's almost pushing it too far. So he played the game and stuck with it, and Ted was here to stay. But that's like a more superficial thing. Let's dig a little deeper as to why he sucks. Reason number 2, he's a fucking coward. After realizing the 2016 Republican presidential nomination was not going to be him and was instead going to go to the two-pay traffic cone, Ted Cruz chose not to give Trump his endorsement at the Republican National Convention in May of 2016. But then, for some odd reason, he changed his mind and just decided to forget all the insults he and Trump hurled at each other and became a blind, spineless sycophant and endorsed Trump in September of 2016. And I'm just taking a wild guess here, but he probably did it because re-election was coming up in 2018 and he needed Orange Daddy's help to make sure his seat was secure. So Teddy Boy just moved past the things his soon-to-be new boss said about him and his wife. Things like Trump retweeting a follower's picture, comparing the looks of Melania Trump versus Heidi Cruz, basically calling Heidi Cruz ugly without actually saying the words, which Ted Cruz initially stood up for while he was still fighting for the presidential nomination. But eventually, Cruz, like the coward he is, decided to ignore it ever happened, and to this day still brushes off any mention of this ever happening, even going so far as to have a double-date dinner at the White House in 2017 with the tiny-handed man who called his wife ugly. Now, it's just a side note, just a little tangent, but this right here is one of the reasons why I could never be in politics, because the moment my opponent said or tweeted something like this about my wife or my immediate family, the Southside Chicago attitude in me would boil up, decorum goes out the window, and I'd wind up just beating the brakes off my opponent the next time I see him. So, politics ain't the place for me. I definitely would not wind up shoving my head so far up Trump's ass that my nose would turn his belly button from an innie to an outie. But, like a damn coward who's really only worried about his career, Ted Cruz sold out his own wife to make sure the folks who voted for his Orange Daddy were gonna keep him in the Senate. Oh, and also Trump pushed this fucking weird conspiracy theory that Ted Cruz's father was with and maybe even aided Lee Harvey Oswald in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It's so fucking batshit and baseless that I'm not gonna comment any further on it. Anyway, and the last but certainly not the least reason that Ted Cruz sucks, he's just a dogshit senator. Even in just the last year alone, Ted's been busy being a dick. Let's forget that Ted Cruz has blindly voted against all of Joe Biden's cabinet nominees. Let's forget that he voted against the stimulus package pushed through under the new Biden administration, claiming it was giving illegal immigrants money. Because, as we all know, when the GOP has no real basis to vote against something, they use the same buzzwords, illegal immigrants, crime, abortion, Antifa, etc., to stir up the fear boner for their less than informed constituents. And let's forget that Teddy 12 Chins also voted against both impeachments of his orange daddy. That alone, those things alone, would make him the biggest pot of stale cat urine. But let's look at how he's fucked over his state of Texas. Now, a lot of these stats and points are directly from one of the best named websites ever. It's humansagainstTedCruz.com. Link to their website and to all other sources used in this video will be in the comment section below. Their website delves even deeper into Ted's suckness as a person and a politician. But here's a couple of the big ones that stuck out to me. Number one, an estimated 1 million Texans are without health insurance, and old Teddy Boy has done everything in his power to make sure that number grows and that insurance lobbyists continue to pay their way into legislation that causes the price for healthcare to skyrocket and continue lining the pockets of the insurance and pharmaceutical companies by wanting to repeal Obamacare and offering zero in terms of a replacement for it. He just wants to get rid of it. Number two, Teddy Shitstain is also a staunch advocate for repealing Roe vs. Wade, criminalizing abortions, and allowing employers to control their employees' access to birth control. Not to mention, he's also voted to reduce protections against domestic violence and campus sexual assaults. And if you know anything about the horrible situation at Baylor University, and sadly among many, many other institutions around the country, then you know just how much pain and suffering a stance like this has. He's just a real piece of shit there. And last, but certainly not least, this Dingleberry, who has a donors list that includes 4 of America's wealthiest businessmen, is absolutely in the pocket of big business, which makes life a whole fuck of a lot harder for working Texans. He's voted against equal pay for equal work. He has filibustered a vote to raise the minimum wage in Texas, along with Senator John Cronin, who's also a notable asshat, someone who I might talk about if this turns into a series. Because why should Ted's business friends pay people a living wage or pay women the same amount as men for the same job? That's crazy talk. Look, I make a lot of jokes here, but when it comes down to it, Ted Cruz is a major roadblock in the road to a better life, not just for Texans, but for all of Americans. He continues to push his orange daddy's lie that the election was stolen. He votes against Biden's stimulus bill, and then, like many, many other GOP lawmakers who all voted against it, turn around and try and act like they've fought to get their state the help that they so deserve. He defends the actions of the terrorists who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, and like fellow shitstain Kevin McCarthy, he refuses to hold these people accountable and instead dishes out whataboutisms and downplay the act of terrorism that was incited by his beloved senpai. Why? Because Ted Cruz is a fucking coward, an awful human, and let's face it, isn't smart enough and doesn't have the balls to be the Zodiac Killer. And that's it. That's it for today's video. I appreciate you guys coming. Let me know who else you think I should cover if this does turn into a series. I mean, we all know there's no shortage of asshats in politics. Hit the like button. Subscribe. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Just subscribe. Come on. It's right there. Or over there. It's somewhere here. Just hit the subscribe button. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section down below. Okay, bye.